Easy people, hope everyone's doing okay. Today we're in the city of Cambridge, well, almost in the city centre. We've just left the van in a parking area for free because it's notoriously difficult and expensive to park in Cambridge. So I've got my bike and we're just going to make our way towards the city centre and have a wander around and let the buildings tell the story for us today. So let's get going. I've definitely been sat in the van for too long with the heaters on. It is freezing. It's freezing, mate, I cannot lie. Hands are gone, nose is going. Body's warming up slightly from the cycling, but winter is definitely on the way in the UK. Don't let that sun deceive you today, it is freezing. So just as we get into the city centre, Cambridge is obviously made up of one huge university with many smaller colleges and university campuses that surround the entire city. All of these buildings are the old world architecture. Well, there you go, right on cue. I'm sure we'll get a closer look when we get over there, if I can get up this hill. So I just want to show you the chimney stack there, how wide it is, thick and dense. Red brick, the iron ore brick, which I'll do a video on later on. Speaking about the process of this energy, the ions, and how it has the capacity to generate energy. Lots of the lower level windows. I dare say mud flood evidence will be all around within this city. Look at that there. Yeah, bricked up lower basement windows. Huge chimney stacks in the background there with modern day furnaces placed on top. This incredible building, modern day dome roof with weathercock on top and lower basement windows. Typical what you'd expect with the Tartarian culture. This incredible red brick structured building, same just here. And if you can notice the sort of spiked ornamentation on top of the dome, that isn't there just for decoration. We see this in many places. I'll show you some more just back there of this, which looks like it's decoration like this, but this is actually to assist with the process of the electrons being generated from the iron antenna or copper antenna. So it does actually serve a purpose. These ones just up here are a good example of it. They're not there just for decoration. As I say, when the electrons would be flowing through the iron rod or iron antenna, it assists with the flow of the electrons, the ions, which is crucial in generating the free energy via the ether. Look at these two cast iron antennas right there, old world antennas still on the buildings. See that one there in the distance? Now the roof has been modernised with slate roofing, but it would have been a copper dome with these cast iron antennas. You can still see it there. Some harmonic frequencies being produced by this old world power station. Now, of course, don't want to trigger anybody who follows religion, but these buildings are much older than the religious books were written, because they were old world power stations before they were anything. And this electromagnetic energy really is, in essence, the creator to a certain extent. Check out the old world antenna in all its glory. I just want to show you the basement level here, because all of the streets in Cambridge have huge basement levels, because this isn't the original street level when these buildings were built. Every single one has lower levels, and that is where the old world doorways would have been. They are not at this level. This is a repurposing of the street level. Perfect example of it. Repurposing to doorways that were not the original level. Look at this old world power station. The majestic. Simply incredible. Now you can see the ornamentation all around these spires with a iron antenna on on top of there, that would have helped the electrons flow to generate a huge amount of electromagnetic energy. And the buildings all surrounding, the smaller buildings within the area, would feed off of this, creating almost like Wi-Fi, what we create today. It's invisible to the naked eye, but we know it's there because we use it. It's the same principles with these old world power stations, which is what these are. Even looking at the stonework, I wonder whether it's modern day rendering in the last, say, 100 years, because these buildings could be thousands of years old, even older potentially. So I'm wondering whether they have just completely covered up the original brickwork. Here we see our lower level basements and repurposed doorways. This runs all the way along this side street here, just next to the building we were just looking at. Repurposed steps up, brand new doorways, lower levels. And not just small basements, the basements are exactly the same size as what we find on the floor space. So just to the side of the ornamentation, we can see battery cylinder domes with weathercocks on top. And check this, on the same building we can see red brickwork chimneys. As I was saying, this stonework on the outer seems to be modern day rendering, could be done in the last 200-300 years, because these buildings are far older than recent history tells us. There's huge lower level basements here, just on the same street level. We see this all across the older cities in the United Kingdom. Not sure if you can make that out, but that gives you an idea of how deep the basement level windows really are. Sometimes when we see them just at, say, a level like this, without the grille work, just this part here, we think it's just a lower level basement window, but they go much further down. And we've also have evidence in some cities like Manchester, where people go underground through the sewage system. There are complete street levels, completely there with shop windows, doors, access, all of these kind of things. So there is a lot of evidence that shows us that this isn't just basement levels underground, it is street access underground. I'm hoping the light can pick that up for you guys so you can see that. There's the window ledge, and there is the actual street level even further down below that. And you can also, well, I don't know if you can see it, quite make it out, but it goes underneath the street. So it isn't just the basement level, there's clear evidence of that just there. Beautiful red brick chimney stacks, or what we call chimney stacks. As I've touched on many times, if you was to put iron antennas in those and have the 6 banded together here and the 5 running in a row here, you'll be able to generate a lot more power than just having one single antenna. Look at this, guys, same street, we've got a copper dome with a weathercock on top. We can see the red brick at the side, obviously modern day rendering on the outside, but we can see it is originally a red brick building, huge red brick building next to it, but a copper dome, which is the great conductor of electromagnetic energy. Just to the side of it, renovation project going on, and you can see, if you just make out just there, you can see lower level, it's been bricked up with modern day bricks now, but you can see that goes down again to another level. Now I wonder how low that goes if you were to really dig and actually look for it instead of repurposing it. Look at this, great example of repurposed doorway, which was an old window. And just in between the car and the bush, you can see bricked up windows. So this stairway, this steps leading up, and the rendering on the outside of that door is modern. It wasn't what the original door level or street level was when that building was built. That is an old world red brick Tartarian structure. I've spoken about these dates on the side of buildings before, how they are just to really cover up how old the building actually is. This one says 1633, so even with its repurposing, it is fairly old, you know, it's nearly 400 years old. But the building, I would say, is even much older than that. And just to the side of it, if you can see, look at the antennas on top of that dome just there. Obviously it's a modern day slate roof, but Those are antennas sitting on top of that roof. Look at this Greco-Roman building here. Modern day restoration on the outside, modern day rendering, sorry. I wonder what the original structure would have looked like during its inception. Look at this example of repurposing. Look at that. New door level. And this is all the way along this street here. Repurposing. This Cambridge is the gift that keeps on giving. Check out the copper dome with the battery cylinders running around the dome there. Still got a antenna on top. Classic example of electromagnetic energy. And on the exactly opposite, same again. Copper dome, weathercock's been placed on the top of this one here. Same with this one here. This is a stone dome now, but this one is still copper dome. And the huge red brick iron ore chimney stacks. Every street you go down, you're seeing examples of how the electromagnetic energy could have been harnessed via these buildings. And also these archways with the crisscrossing underneath, red brickwork in there, really have to be looked at with fresh eyes, because these could potentially be the magnets to help this energy process generate even greater power. It's not often I get excited about a lamppost, but this lamppost here is a cast iron lamppost. Oldest one in Cambridge, certainly, possibly in the UK. It's a grade 2 listed one, and it's made from cast iron because it's a conductor of electromagnetic energy. Now this lamppost would have been harnessing the natural energy that is found in the ether, and that is why it is a special lamppost. But today it is no mention of this anywhere to be found to do with it. They've got lots of theories accredited with its naming, but really it's just to cover up its true purpose. That is an old world lamppost generating energy via the ether. It's a real shame that we are no longer using the old world cast iron lampposts. Today we are using LED lighting. And for those who are unaware, LED light bulbs emit harmful rays that affect our natural electromagnetic field. This is what we are seeing going on. Lots of the technology we use today, Wi-Fi, 5G, LED lighting, is detrimental to the natural balance of things, to our natural electromagnetic field, our aura. Look at this beautiful building in the same park that we're in. 4 copper domes, two at the back point there. We can see the plinths on top. Obviously no iron antennas on top of these ones, but you can imagine how it would have looked back in the day. Just another device generating more electromagnetic energy. And certainly an old world building that goes much lower than the street level tells us. That's the window there, kitchen down there, goes all the way down, possibly even lower. Look at this, I'm not sure if you can see that, but there is the window ledge, and the brickwork or the space opening goes actually under the road, goes under the street, because like I say, this is the original street level back down here. These are not just... Look at this incredible church here with the red brick on the outside, and then modern day rendering on the actual church itself. Is that done deliberately to cover up the original brickwork? Are these buildings originally done in the red brick that we find next to the church itself? And what a building, by the way. Lots of antiquitech. Reminds me of the spire in my small town of Leighton Buzzard. This one has a weathercock on top. The one in my small hometown of Leighton Buzzard doesn't, but it is being restored and rendered and completely renovated many times over. But we see all of the ornamentation and the design that tells us that this building is another power station. Look at the front of the church, the battery cylinders running round, providing magnetism to generate even more power, and all of the ornamentation designs that assist the electrons as they're flowing. I have nothing against religion or people who follow religion or find meaning, peace within the religious texts, but let's at least be wise enough to acknowledge that many of the older buildings and ancient sites within the realm are far older than any religious book that we have today. Now that tells us that there was a history of the realm long before religion was even acknowledged, and not only was there a history, but they were capable of building some of the most magnificent structures and monuments that we find within the realm, one being Göbekli Tepe in Turkey. The official narrative even tells us that this place is old. It is very, very old. So even in the official narrative of things, we know that there are many, many ancient structures that predate religion. Religion today has repurposed much of these ancient power stations, and really we could say that it's to keep us from the real truth of things, the electromagnetism, the ether. And what we see today is really just repurposing and to cover up the real truth of things. Now again, I'm not trying to trigger people deliberately, just in the pursuit of a better awareness of things. And to me, the buildings speak for themselves, as does the total silence and cover up of the ether, electromagnetism and free energy. Here we have an excellent example of the repurposing of a doorway. There's the steps leading up, and just to the left hand side you can see where that window has been repurposed, just like that door has there, but this is the original doorway right there underneath. And we see this a lot, especially in London. Actually you see it in many of the older cities. These steps building up to this door are modern day and are not built when the building was originally built. As you can see, the original one is still underneath. Look at this, guys. This is a outer wall. There is absolutely nothing behind, but we have this archway and we have this both here on an outer wall. I've never seen that before. That is the first time for me. That was just on the street where I just showed you the repurposing of the doorway that tells us that there was lower levels there, and then we have it also on the outer wall, which is, yeah, baffled me, that one. I've never seen that before. And if we just look over to the property, we see lower level windows, so we know that the property that this wall is on the perimeter of does have lower levels, and it was on the same street where that building was clearly repurposed. So that is a really interesting piece there. Look at this, we can see clearly the difference between the two bricks. This brick that the building is actually made from is also similar to the red brick. It's made from iron ore. It comes in the beige colour as well. But this brick here, with the repurposing to make the new doorway for the new street level, is modern. It's a different brick. It is not the same brick, and that tells us that this has been repurposed. Look at this beautiful building, guys, in the background, the spire. Now I'm not too sure whether you can make out on there, but you can see a weathercock has been placed on the top. But we know back in the day that would have been a cast iron antenna, huge, and this would have generated the electromagnetic energy, and the ornamentation that you see on the side is there to help the process of the electrons as they would flow down the building. Forget the outside rendering. There is red brick underneath there full of iron ore, which again I'll do a video on separately, speaking about this process and how the iron ore bricks were able to generate energy, or at least hold the energy that was generated via the cast iron antennas. But what a beautiful building, looking at it, a huge power station, old world power station. This is an excellent example of a repurposed building. This is not built as a church in its original inception. On the top there we have the mini copper dome, battery cylinders running around the side, antenna on top. This would have been generating power when it was originally built. And like I've said, many of the religious buildings have actually taken these old world power stations and repurposed them today and said that they were built for religious purposes. Look at this, guys, beautiful red brick Tartarian building. And if we look up at the top, we see the copper dome, antenna, cylinders running round that would create the magnetic energy. And this is in the shopping centre area. It's the only red brick building here. Other buildings have been added at later dates, but it's being repurposed today as a Wilco. This is a classic Tartarian building that would have been harnessing the electromagnetic energy. So you can see how these buildings would have been added at a later date, and this shopping centre would not have been here when this red brick building was standing on its own. Check this out, every few hundred yards we find these huge spires, churches, old world power stations. Cambridge really is, and right next to a red brick Tartarian old world structure. Cambridge really is one of the old world power cities from the Tartarian era. Look at that one there, guys. I've just got to pop the camera through a railing here because I can't actually get in, but a great example of the copper. It's not a cylinder, but it is copper, from we can tell from the colour. Has ornamentation on top, again weathercock, which isn't the original antenna that would have been there when it was originally built, but a great example of a building that would have been harnessing the electromagnetic energy. Very impressive building behind me, guys. If you can see, it has the ornamentation on top of Antiquitech, and this building has been taken over by Lloyd's Bank. It wouldn't have been built as a bank in its original inception. I've touched on before how the bank's got much privilege to these old world buildings on the high street. Now if you look at the windows here, you can see that it would have been a double window also where the doorway is, and this is just newer rendering that has been placed to create the doorway, because the original level of this goes far lower. You can even see some of the lower windows just there to confirm it, and that is because the street level we're at today isn't the original street level when these buildings were originally built. But a fascinating building, the red brickwork, Tartarian culture, and huge copper dome on the top there with the antenna. Just to give you some better footage of the copper dome with the antenna on top, it would have been running down. Excellent old world building harnessing the electric. Yes, so let's begin part two. Just had a quick pit stop. Mexican food for anyone who's interested. Quesadillas and nachos loaded with beans, absolutely delicioso. So let's continue on. Last little part of our tour of Cambridge. Got a couple more places for us to go and see, and yeah, then we'll wrap it up. So let's carry on. Look at this incredible building behind me, guys. You can see the roof, the copper dome with antenna on top, and 8 magnets that are running aside it, horseshoe magnets at the side of it. It's red brickwork and goes down lower level to the street level. This is a classic Tartarian old world energy building. This university campus that we're walking around now is pretty much what you find all throughout Cambridge. They are old world energy buildings that are now being used as a university, and this repurposing more or less solidifies the existence of now being a university, and we accept that narrative. We don't look at the buildings as energy devices, and it's a clever tactic used to cover up the true purpose of these buildings. This was the copper dome that we were just looking at. Look at the spire there on this building as well. This is a battery cylinder running round with a dome on top. Same here as well, another dome. It's a modernised dome. That's a new slate roof. You could imagine that being exactly the same as this one, a copper dome, which is a great conductor of electricity. But this whole site, just the red brick, iron ore brick, Tartarian brick, with so much antiquitech all around. Fascinating campus, this one. Just like the buildings we've just come from, you see these lower level windows. Now I wonder if they were to dig down, how low that would actually go. Just telling us that this isn't the original level. This isn't what the level was when these buildings were built. This, we have the headmaster's house here, and all of these buildings now being used as schooling, university purposes. This was the Lays for anybody interested in where we are in Cambridge. Well then guys, this seems like a good place to end the walk-in cycling tour of Cambridge. Hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. And if you have, please leave a like, comment, and maybe subscribe to the channel. Plenty more content on the way, sharing old world architecture with some other adventures along the way. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the content. As always, have a wonderful day, and I'll catch up with you all soon. Take care. And let me know guys if you think Cambridge was an old world Tartarian electromagnetic city, harnessing the Earth's natural electromagnetic energy via the ether, using the churches, or what we repurposed as churches today, as the main power stations. But in truth, all of the buildings have some form of antiquitech technology that can harness this energy. And as I say, I'll do a separate video for you discussing how the brickwork plays its role in this, and hopefully that can join some dots for you. But as always, you need to go in and do your own research. It's all good getting information for it, but really you need to go in and join a few dots yourself by doing some of the research. That really is the best way.